God has mercy. Street life. My life was full of negative outdoor experiences as a kid. Growing up in a place so closely located to Boston, I'd say sure the stereotypical activities of hood rats and felons had to be figuratively there at any and all times. First memory I go back and remember was a kid. A skinny kid, white tank top, blue jean shorts. I was so quiet, very shy and complicated in the mind. I grew up loving basketball. I started on this very court. It stands as a place I call my home court. I was 12 at the time, and I developed this very talent I could call mine. Soon the streets arrived, somewhere that the light of God is often deprived. A new me. A few years later, the haunting memories of being made fun of or getting bullied held a spell on me. They made me rock hard in the heart. I found zero sympathy for anyone that offended me with the wrong words. I turned myself into a fighter and eventually decided I should attack the world like this. My identity went verbally viral with a brown hoodie covering the majority of my head except the lower half of my face. People were starting to be afraid of me. They couldn't take a moment to insult me or put me down because they often saw the devil within rather than the person deep inside who just couldn't cry. The hardest thing for us as humans to understand is that another individual could have so much power over us with just a few suggestions or words. The person I refer to in this case would be the devil. Just before all these things happened, I was a pure, innocent child of God. I stood happily like this, but slowly became unhappy because I tried to be part of the world everyday people live to please. Over speculation in the coming months, my friends seen the real me and threw suggestions at me to label me. Nothing insulting, more as identifying. I found what I believed was my identity at this age. Here's some things I did. I rode down a highway with violently fast speed for the fun of it. I played ball very late at night, as late as 11:30 or 12, and I even said whatever I wanted. There was a point where all these things did come back to me and crashing down as well. Riding the bike one day down the highway became an accident, where I came down and blacked out on my bike for a mere 3 seconds to crash into a pole, go flying off, bang my knee on the pole as I'm flying off and landing in the street about 10 feet ahead of the crash location. This pole no longer exists here. It's been long gone since I hit it, even though the only damage was on my bike, not the pole itself. Late night basketball seemed to end because I brought friends over and one day we got into a mini scuffle between the people who played there just about every night while we were the newcomers. Saying what I wanted eventually came back to me when people started saying what they wanted to say to me, which made me change. God was watching me all these years, keeping a close eye. I believe he wanted to show me the truth one way or another. Final teenage years. I nearly grew up by this time. I was 19 years old. I made it past so much and was proud of my achievement. I was prepared to enter the world at this time and to find a job at whatever place that I wanted, considering I had the education for it. I got my diploma from high school and was ready to go. One day while practicing basketball at a basketball court on a Sunday afternoon around 6 p.m. Unfortunately, it was a windy day, and this meant the trajectory of my shots would be misguided. You're probably wondering what a windy day in basketball had to do with a testimony involving God. Well, don't worry, I'm getting there. Soon enough, I got fed up, expecting to play for several hours, maybe 6. I was already there for about 4 at 6 p.m. and decided to leave because I couldn't stand the accuracy of my shots being so off. As I went for my leave, I saw my friend. She was across the street from me. So I walked right over there, and in a flash, I was in front of her. She was with another friend who was braiding the hair of another guy I know. This was the last time I saw them. Within the upcoming 3 hours, loud bang noises were heard. I figured there was a gang war outside, therefore I chose not to go outside. But from a more popular news source, I heard 2 girls got shot. Sad part of this, they weren't the targets at all. The truth of the matter involved other matters, as far as I'm concerned. This is how fast you can lose people in your life, and something that made me truly appreciate both my family and friends more than ever. Some things to remember in these teenage years was back in my high school years where I built a weather machine which still stands today. It's both working and fully functional today. Sitting above the building on a corner, a few years after building the weather machine, I found a new respect for people. And the moment was over for me at age 16. One day while playing ball, the people I was playing with apparently all knew each other. Come to find out, they were related, about 7 kids to a single home. That's pretty ridiculous. I was unaware of this because where I come from, the black kids just hang out with each other for some reason. I'm not even sure if it was on purpose. One of those kids tried to intimidate me, so I held my ground and was not to be intimidated, and without a word or action, I surely let him know that as well. Within a moment, the kids took the ball and all walked off. I was confused and just like, oh, okay. I went and got my bike and prepared to leave, but my cousin was there, so I didn't leave just yet. Within 15 seconds, all the kids came back with a few more people. If I remember correctly, about a dozen. Me standing behind my bike and in front of a mini fence, I was circled nearly. There were accusations all over from the new people who just came outside. One tried to take my bike and tossed it. I immediately fended him off with a roar of words and holding my bike and my ground. One pushed me, causing me to fall back into a seat of cement. In a few seconds, I figured I was up against a dozen people and feet were going to be flying, considering I could honestly kick anyone to the ground who wasn't a musclehead. None of them were muscleheads. They were all skinny black kids. Before I could even react, my cousin told them to stop or he'd have to act on the situation. He was very known in the area as well as respected. I was not very known in the area. This entire event caused me to break the habit. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to argue. I didn't want to be the toughest guy out there. This would get me killed sooner than I expected. Sooner than anyone would want to see me gone. Age 20. Revolution in my life. At age 20, I had something extraordinary going on. It was hard to explain. I've been going through spiritual warfare. You've probably heard this term before. What is this term? What does it mean? Spiritual warfare is a situation where God and the devil fight for your soul. At the time, I can't even recall my feelings. I was so numb in my emotions that year. I wanted happy, but always felt I was never able to be me. I argued and argued with who I believed was the inner me. This went on for at least a month. Eventually, God prospered over Satan, as he always does. I was clear-eyed now. I could see clearly again. I was honestly scared out my shoes at the time. I feared I had hurt God with my actions the past several years. The previous years had been full of sinful actions in nature. I stuck by it and believed it was me, but surely it wasn't. The devil had his final trump card prepared. He sent one of his demons to kill me, sent death angels to finish the job. At a certain point, you were so drained in the spirit that you were no longer able to fight these demonic beings. You're not protected and unsatisfied with this life as is. This is the saddest part of life for most people. They never get a chance to pray for safety, for forgiveness, or worse, they lose all the chances they get to be forgiven because they die. Death Angel. The demon Satan sent to kill me, I identified as Death Angel. Death Angel had a mission that she was certain to accomplish one way or another. Her mission was to eliminate me. Why would a demon want to eliminate you, many wonder. I tell you this, if something extraordinary happened to me, then I will tell everyone I can because I'm so amazed and shocked about the fact it happened. God was calling me at the time. I was drained and out of it spiritually. After several weeks of being at God's finger, I finally responded. He was willing me to ask about a sin to a new friend I met, a new Christian friend I met over Facebook. She was a true Christian, someone who followed the book and strived to be close with God. I finally asked her about the actions I thought might have been wrong. Patiently waiting, I was eager to understand more about God. I was happy to know God really picked me out of everyone a guy like this. It was so special. It almost felt physical. I'll say it again. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. I laid myself in bed that night and prayed to the Lord about my problems, my sins, my issues, my dealings, and my wishes. I remember that night was on July 27th, 2013. And I asked him to show me hell, but not put me in it. I want to get somewhat of an understanding of this place that I was supposed to be going to. I want to scare myself so bad that I couldn't go back. Upon sleeping that night, shortly after falling asleep, I woke up in this place. It was entirely dark abyss. Thinking back, I'm not sure if I had clothes on or not, but everything there was different. I felt confused because I didn't understand how to move. It wasn't walking or running as we do on Earth. There was nothing there but what seemed like a jail cell mountain. The reason I describe it like this is because it had jail bars, and it had a tiny window-sized hole with the bars containing what was inside it, and on the outside was a mountain. I saw a white person's hand hanging onto what seemed like a cliff on the inside. I was intrigued by what I saw, and also a bit frightened. I hear screams, felt a heart-pumping wave of fear from the sounds I heard there. People screaming with all their might. They yelled as if they were children, but they were adult men and women. All while seeing this person with a white hand hanging. I didn't understand how I could comprehend the fact there was no hope, people were hurting, this person was a she, the black abyss, and the fact I couldn't move in this short time. It was only there for roughly 30 seconds. It all happened so fast. She climbed up a bit, and I could see some of her face. A boy climbed up her back some as well. He seemed to be related to her. He had no care in the world for her because he seemed to be trying to avoid whatever was down below. My last image of this was the woman getting her face above the cliff. She honestly scared me. She had dark or black eyes, black hair, and white skin. She stared right at me for a few seconds. I stared back. Then I was back. I came back to Earth. My heartbeat was normal. In that place, it was beating fast. I didn't understand what happened. I pictured it as a dream until strange things began happening next. It was Death Angel making her appearance. Oh, and something I forgot to mention. Against Death Angel, you can't fight back. Florida. In the upcoming weeks, things seemed odd. Everything was seemingly out to kill me. Literally. At every corner, any location I went, something seemed to almost take my life. When I tell you it got worse in Florida, I'm not kidding. In the first few days, to make this long story short, the entire house ended up smelling like gasoline. If I had to find a percentage of oxygen in gasoline, I'd have to say 60% oxygen and 40% gasoline. You couldn't avoid it. But the scariest part about Satan is his time is great. Not as good as God's, but without God's protection, he will get you if he wants. I was the only one in the house, and it was the perfect silent killing method. He had a perfect plan, but God got me out of it. My brother and mother returned before I ended up passing out. Power of God. I deem these near deaths laughable, honestly. Nothing scared me back then but hell. Ever since seeing hell, I was determined to never see it again, and to help anyone else to never see it at all. Unfortunately, you people are stubborn. You can believe what you like, but remember there is a day when we will all pass over to the next world and see the truth. The final event ending my Florida trip with a bang. Almost literally. I was in the airport with my mom, and in the random open view, I suddenly saw a vision. My history of visions all came true unless I prayed about it. The vision I saw was from someone else's perspective. They were standing in the lobby as well. They saw our plane fly off, and as it got over the runway, it seemed to break down mid-flight. As it twisted right, then left, and dropped into the water, I immediately told my mother because I feared for our lives. She said we should pray about it, which we did. We prayed 3 times. Once in the lobby, once after being seated, and once at the start of the runway. The plane began taking off, and all seemed well, when all of a sudden the whole plane twisted right, then left, so suddenly and out of control. Our stomachs sank, my vision was coming true, when all of a sudden everything stopped. The plane seemed to regain control somehow, and the captain didn't even speak on it. My mother and I both looked at each other in disbelief. She was probably shocked I told her about it minutes before it happened. Dad's grave. This event actually happened in the year 2017, April 19th. This event is 4 years past the current time of the story, but it's relevant. My father passed away in 1996. He managed to live for a few years after my birth, but not long enough for me to have an actual conversation with him. For many years, he remained a mystery figure to me. I couldn't imagine his face, I couldn't imagine his voice, his existence, his love. I couldn't see him ever being around. I never hated him or felt negatively about him, but thinking about him, I remember the only photo I ever got to see. A photo of him in glasses. If you think this is bad, I couldn't even find information on his tombstone. He laid the past 21 years in the same place. The address was never told to me. By a blessing, though, on this day, I had a chance, one last wish. I got to see him. I got to be there as if I was with him. I didn't literally get to see him, but I got to be at his new home. The unconditional love God gives us is a reminder to never give up hope or faith. And after 24 years of living, I finally found his new earthly home. I was just speaking to him. The hardest part to finish was 21 years. The tears broke out then because it was so long. I grew up without him, and as much as I'd rather him around, this was how it had to be. I love you, Dad. Thank you, God, for giving me a life worth talking about. I hope this story touched your heart, viewers. I plan on visiting this place twice a year, every year from now on. God bless you.